Hello again. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and I thought I'd do a quick video about this. I live in Dingle, and the tradition here is that there's a pipe band that comes out at 6 o'clock in the morning and marches around the town, which is a tradition going back to when Ireland was under British rule, because the St. Patrick's Day celebrations were in fact outlawed. So in order to be able to do this, the local people got up very early and did it at 6 o'clock before the authorities had got out of bed. So by the time, the police or whoever got up, it was already over. So but they continue that tradition on today, even though it's 100 years or more now, actually, since the British police and army left. Well, certainly the Republic. They'd left the Republic 100 years ago. There's still obviously issues in the north regarding British rule. But anyway, so that was a bit annoying, I have to say, because it woke me up, and I did go back to sleep for a little while. But there you go. I guess that's tradition for you. People will keep on doing things even if there's no actual reason to do it anymore. So anyway, back to St. Patrick. Some of you may know that he wasn't actually an Irishman. He was a Briton of some kind. I'm not really sure from what part of Britain he was originally from. That part of Britain where he lived is now called Wales. So he may be of some kind of Brythonic descent. He could be of Roman descent. We certainly know that he learnt Latin, and he was a member of his church, the Roman Church. He first ended up in Ireland as a slave. Seemingly he was taken probably from along the Welsh coast and brought as a slave to Ireland, and at some point managed to return to Britain. He grew up and later on did return to Ireland as a missionary, which led to sort of his fame as sort of the person who converted Ireland to Christianity. Although seemingly he's not the first person to have tried to do that. Palladius before him seemingly would have had some inroads, and in fact he wasn't successful in converting the whole country. If you read the sort of hagiography of St. Patrick, it would give the impression that he managed to convert Ireland in his lifetime, which is completely untrue. You would have found that there would have been chieftains and minor kings who were still pagan up until about 800, and there are the burials of pagan tradition still in evidence up to about that time. Of course, they were diminishing in number as the centuries passed, but it's very clear that for about probably somewhere between 300 and 400 years after Patrick was in Ireland doing his missionary work, there were still pagans in some quantity active in Ireland. So this conversion wasn't overnight at all. It took quite a large amount of time. And one should also remember that Patrick is actually not a canonized saint. He is not recognized by the Catholic Church or any other church as an actual official saint. So really St. Patrick is just Patrick in reality. In Ireland, he, of course, and the Irish diaspora around the world regard him as a Christian saint, but that's just a weird anomaly. Very similar situation with Bridget, not actually a Christian saint. recognised by any official church either. So yeah, there's a bit of an odd situation in Ireland with the sort of holiness of these people. The name Niamh actually means holy in Irish, so that would be an epithet attached to both those people, Porrig or Patrick and Bridget. So anyway, I thought to conclude I'd read you a little bit. This is a translation into English from his two works. There is the Confessio, which is the Confessions of Patrick, and there's another one which is the Epistola. So they're kind of interesting, sort of a curiosity for getting a window on his mind, I suppose. He was very, very pious. So anyway, it doesn't tell you a whole lot really about his activities or his life. A lot of it's sort of religious in nature, and lots of references to the Bible, both the Old Testament as well. So in terms of understanding pagan Ireland at that time or the conversion, it's not really very helpful. But still, it's, it is an interesting read. So I'm going to read a tiny section of it for you just now. Okay, so he's talking about him having been a slave in Ireland. The charge they brought against me was something from 30 years earlier, which I had omitted before I was even made a deacon. Once when I was anxious and worried, I hinted to my dearest friend about something I had done one day, indeed in 1 hour in my youth, for I had not known then prevailed over my sinfulness. I did not know, God knows, if I was then 15 years old, and I was not a believer in the true God, nor had I ever been. But I remained in death and non-belief until I was truly punished, and in truth brought low by daily deprivations of hunger and nakedness. Against the charge I could point out that I continued on in Ireland, not of my own volition, until I almost perished. But this captivity was very good for me, for I was corrected by the Lord, and He prepared for me what I am today, a state I was then far away from. Okay, sorry, I made a few mistakes reading it out. But basically what he's saying is that when he was a teenager, he didn't believe in God, and he was punished by God by being captured and made a slave in Ireland. And as a result of his experience, he then converted and became a good Christian. And the story moves on from that. You can find a lot of stories about Patrick. There are some ones that are complete nonsense, which have got nothing to do with history or even the kind of hagiography, if you like, of the time, which comes from about around 600 onwards. I think most of those stories, the stories of his conflicts with the Druids and, King Lowry and all of that, and the lighting of the fire up at Slane, etc. We don't know how much of that is actually true. Certainly a huge amount of stuff was written about Patrick long after his death, so we could probably assume that a large proportion of it is just pure Christian fantasy written to sort of big up Patrick and give him sort of a more important status. But anyway, so he's still here. He's still very much remembered, and all over the country there'll be people celebrating, but not in a particularly Christian manner. The parades you often see don't seem to have an awful lot to do with Patrick anymore. You wouldn't see an effigy of Patrick being carried through the streets like may have been the case many years ago. Mostly it seems to involve people dressed in green, pipe bands, tractors, and people getting quite drunk a lot of the time. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I just thought I'd like to share that with you. Seeing as I was forced to wake up early, I thought, well, I might as well do this. Okay, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, please give it a like and feel free to subscribe as well. That's all for now.